climbing, I'm losing my grip. Storage costs rising, they'll never let me skip. Refunds I'm eating, returns pile up too. Oh, Amazon, what else will you do? I look at my dashboard, my profits erased. My margins are gone, it's a slap in the face. Prime Day's a promise, but it's such a race. How much will I make if I'm replaced? It's a cruel, cruel number. Fees keep climbing, profits torn asunder. Oh, it's cruel, the sellers wonder how to survive when the margins go under. It's a cruel, cruel number. Every month it's something new to plunder. Oh, it's cruel, it's no wonder we're stuck in this game, the algorithm's thunder.
Yo, Amazon's back, and they got a new scheme. Reimbursement slashed, it's every seller's dream. They're digging deep, taking more from the pot. Let's break it all down, expose what they got. March 25, it's a policy drop. They say manufacturing costs, but we know it's a flop. Give us your cogs, they're demanding the price. But if you don't, they'll estimate nice. Nice for them, not for you. Watch a payout shrink. That comprehensive evil is a corporate wing. Lost in the warehouse, damaged on the floor. Now they pay you pennies, not a cent more. Fees on the rise, profits on the run. They don't lift a finger, but they pocket the fun. We're fair! They shout while they cut our shares. Amazon math, man, it's full of errors. Fees, taking our dough. They're stacking the deck, and it's sellers who owe. Reimbursement? Nah, they're taking us down, but we're still here, we don't mess around. Fees, straight to the top. Amazon's game, it'll never stop. Margins tight, but we keep the grind. Sellers unite, we're one of a kind.
I try to sell my product on Amazon, thought it'd be a breeze. But little did I know I'd be stuck with seller support disease. They never seem to solve my problems, just give me the runaround. I'm tired of waiting on hold. My patience is wearing thin, I'll never be found. Amazon seller support, you suck, you suck, you suck. Can't get no satisfaction. I'm out of luck, out of luck, out of luck. You don't care about my business, just trying to make a buck. Amazon seller support, you suck, you suck, you suck.
This one's for the sellers on the grind, getting left on red, wasting all their time. I hit up support, got an auto reply. Thanks for your patience, man, I wanna cry. Inventory lost, my margins are toast. Reps playing tag like the Casper the Ghost. They pass me around, it's a never-ending game. Nobody takes action, everybody shifts blame. My ASIN's down, I'm out of the race. They say they'll escalate, yo, what a disgrace. Amazon seller support, you're breaking my heart. No answers, no fixes, just tearing me apart. Hours in the queue, stuck in the dark. Amazon seller support, you're missing the mark.
Amazon game plan, that is the key. Seller central dashboard, that's where I be. Analyze the funnel, see what we lack, then we optimize. Sellers know it's a fact. I get it poppin', you know that it's lit. Climbing the rankings, ain't no room to quit. I check the data, they notice the stats. I keep the method, that's how you adapt. Metrics are showing, you know it's our cap. Amazon sellers, it's time to react. I'm about that action, I do this with passion. I got them like, whoa, what is this? Huh, whoa.
I don't know, dude. I think everybody's just buying stuff based on reviews and badges or whatever. They don't even know who we are. These customers don't even know the name of my brand. But they keep clicking add to cart like it's part of the plan. They see that Amazon badge and think it's all grand. But yo, they don't even know the name of my brand.
Click, scroll, build your store. Amazon's waiting, what you waiting for? Brand it loud, make it shine. Steven's here to drop the rhyme. Blue tiles, banners, plug and play. Your storefront's live, let's sell a day. Now listen up, I'm Steven Pope, Amazon guru, I'll help you cope. Step one. Get that trademark stamped. Without brand registry, your Amazon cramped. Head to Seller Central, log in quick. Manage stores tab, yeah, that's the trick. Upload your logo, flex that style. You're about to make Jeff Bezos smile. Where pick a template, marquee or grid. Drop your tiles like a branding whiz. Hero image, big and bold. This store's gonna glitter like digital gold. Scroll, build your store. Amazon's waiting, what you waiting for? Brand it loud, make it shine. Steven's here to drop the rhyme. Blue tiles, banners, plug and play. Your storefront's live, let's sell today. Yo. In the trenches of the Amazon game, trying to survive while it's driving me insane. Nobody warns you, they just claim it's passive income. Nah, it's pain. I'm sitting at a birthday, laughing, chilling, next to a newbie Amazon seller spilling. She's like, Prime so smooth, it's a killer. Then tried to sell, now she's stuck in a thriller. Finding products, yeah, that's the first grind. Scrolling Alibaba, losing my mind. Sample suck, manufacturers decline. I'm like, dang, how's anyone doing this fine? Ship it in, pay for the bubble wrap, but they ship glass bottles in padded crap. Now I got hot sauce leaks, refund stacked, customers pissed. Man, I'm under attack. Amazon's a beast, it's a fight, no peace. From SEO to PPC, the hustle don't cease. Think it's passive? Nah, you better increase your tolerance for chaos or face defeat. Trademark wars, brand registry's a scam. They banned my brand, now I'm in a jam. Listings yanked, products ranked and tanked. Lost dogs in the catalog, my account shanked. Now let's talk ads, it's a rabbit hole. 1,000 hours deep, man, it's taking my soul. Weekly negations, bulk sheets for control. Excel's my new weapon, but it's taking its toll. SEO's no joke, keywords in the game. Alt text, A+ content, playing insane. Lifestyle shots, avatars for fame, but the CTR's low. All products look the same. Amazon's a beast, it's a fight, no peace. From SEO to PPC, from SEO to PPC, the hustle don't cease. Think it's passive? Nah, you better increase your tolerance for chaos or face defeat.
Let's go to Mac School. To Mac School. Class is now in session with Professor Pope. They got the SAP, cause Professor Pope wrote the recipe. Helping Amazon sellers grow sales exponentially. Amazon's a jungle, but we map the strategy. Brand strategist playbook, it's a guide to victory. Troubleshooting catalogs, you know we got the answer key. Boosting all your rankings, turning sales into a legacy. SOB so deep, you'd think we studied at Mac School. Every step we follow leads to growth, yeah, it's a golden loop. Stuck on keywords, we'll find the ones that work the best. Using Helium 10, strike distance keywords pass the test. Incremental indexing ensures the listing set to rise. From the back end to the bullets, optimization hits the skies. Brand store creation, yeah, we make it shine and flow. A+ content design makes conversions overflow. Need your images on point, best practices in the plan. All text and photo rules ensure your visuals command. SEO meets PPC, it's balanced, every step aligned. We'll construct the MKLs that drive rankings over time. Budget caps and bid adjustments, no more wasted spending. Segmentation builds campaigns that sellers can defend. Got a hijacker, no problem, we'll file to take them down. Review requests in action, 5-star ratings come around. Flat file updates, market share reports, it's all in reach. Professor Pope wrote the SOP so sellers learn and teach.
Meanwhile, my Amazon guys on the case, fixing up my problems at lightning pace. Ticket escalations, Mag's the boss. Even Amazon says we'll take the loss. Seller support don't know what's up. Passing the buck when the issue gets tough. They're the official team, but they can't comply. So they say, reach out to my Amazon guy. They're supposed to be the pros, but they can't decode policies and tools from their own damn road. I'm paying fees, yet they bring me stress. But Mag turns my chaos into pure success. Seller support reps, they throwing shade, but then admit, yo, Mag will get you paid. Third-party agency taking the throne while Amazon fumbles in their own damn zone. Seller support don't know what's up. Passing the buck when the issue gets tough. They're the official team, but they can't comply. So they say, reach out to my Amazon guy. So here's the truth, let's keep it real. Mag's the team with the pro-level skill. Amazon sellers, you know the vibe when support says call Mag. They'll give you peace of mind. Amazon seller support, you can suck my image stack. Sucking is all you're good at anyway. Bezos, hit me up if you want to sell seller support. I'm buying. There's a chase. Peace.
All right. Hello, everybody. It is less than, well, it's not less than, it's right around 2 weeks, slightly more than 2 weeks until Christmas Eve. And Christmas is, what is that? 16 days away. The holiday shopping season is in full effect, and it's going to be winding down here before we know it. So hopefully it's been a successful holiday season. So to help you with your PPC campaigns on Amazon and taking that momentum into the new year and all that fun stuff, I'm super excited to be answering your questions today. My name is Kevin Sanderson. I am the marketing and partnerships guy at my Amazon guy, and I have been a seller myself for over 10 years. It was August of 2015. I do the math there real quick. And I have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on Amazon ads over the years, which may seem like not a huge number to some people, but it's my money and I've spent my money. So I can feel all of your pain that you may have spent on Amazon ads. It's helped me in lots of ways and it's hurt me in lots of ways. So to help you focus more on the help than the hurt, I'm here to answer your questions. So I just want to make sure, tap, 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 tap. Is this thing on? So make sure you can hear me. If you don't mind, click that little thumbs up icon. And then in the chat, just let me know that you can hear me. And then also, let's play a little game. So far, how has the holiday season been going for you? If you don't mind, actually just put an emoji in the chat. So there should be like a little emoji button in the chat, whether you're on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitch, X, StreamYard, some other RMTP stream, which is, I don't even know what RMTP or it's RTMP, one of the two. It's some sort of streaming thing, technical thing. I have no idea. But basically, just let us know in the chat, what is one emoji you would use to describe the holiday season so far? You could say, per your expectations compared to last year, how are things going? So I want to know, and who knows, we could be rewarding participation. From time to time, I do reward participation. So, all right, so let's get into people's replies. So we have Abanoob has given us a thumbs up, which I don't know, maybe that's about his ability to hear me. And then he also gave, it looks like, are those champagne? No, it's not champagne bottles. It's the weight thingy. It's, the weight, the scales of justice. Is it, so does this mean it's been justice for you? Justice for what you've seen in the past? I'm curious, highly curious about that. Yes, it's a scale. So, all right. So we're on the same, is it the scales of justice or is it the scales of you're weighing lots of stuff because you're sending things out and you're so busy weighing materials and products and figuring out like, okay, how much is the weight of what I'm sending? I'm very curious. So with that, I'll be answering questions here shortly. So if you have questions, drop them into the chat. So I've been doing this many, many times over. And I have found one thing to always be the case. This is consistent. People ask questions, not at the very beginning. Some people do. There's already questions in the queue. But for the most part, I'm going to go in order of the questions as they come in. Now, what happens is it's kind of like high school or college or the meeting with HR that nobody wants to speak up at. And they say, does anyone have any questions? And everyone just kind of looks around the room. Now, if you've been to my streams before, you probably heard me give this speech, but it's 100% true that what happens is there becomes this energy of people asking questions. And so people start asking more questions because they're either more courageous because they see other people asking questions, or one person's question prompts them to ask another question. Or what also happens, which doesn't happen at your HR meetings or your high school or college class, is that as people ask more questions, it's engagement to the algorithm. And then the algorithm of all these platforms we're streaming on will oftentimes send us more people because they see, oh, there's engagement at this stream. Let's notify and suggest and recommend this stream to other people. And so more people will join, and those people will oftentimes ask more questions. So oftentimes I don't get to answer everyone's questions, especially people that ask them at the end. So the best time to ask it is now. So I'm more likely to help you out with your question. So, all right, let's start getting into some of what people are saying. Abanoob clarified that his scale is a scale of spent to sales. Hopefully it's a good balance and not you're spending the same amount that your sales are. I shouldn't be laughing. Hopefully I understood that right. So, all right. I didn't mean to like laugh as in funny. It was more like I want to make sure I'm understanding correctly. All right. It also says, hello, Kevin. Christmas is so close now than before. Yes. Every day gets closer and closer to Christmas. And then on the 26th, we know what happens. At least I remember this as a kid. It was like, oh, we got 364 more days until Christmas. Because, you know, you think about it, you're like, oh my gosh, Christmas is already gone. I'm already looking ahead to the next year. So that means as a seller, you're probably looking ahead to next year and all the sales you're going to make next year. So, all right. So let's start getting into some questions. You have your questions, drop them into the chat. And Toshko 3766, actually real quick, Abanoob for participating. You can get yet another coupon because I know we've given you quite a few coupons and thank you for being a regular at our streams. Just email podcast, PODCAST at myamazonguy.com. Podcast singular at myamazonguy.com, and we'll get you a free coupon code for a $100 mag school course. Oh, there we go. We got our producers standing by in the background and hooking me up. So thank you for sharing that that banner. All right. So Toshko 3766 asks, I'm selling an adult size product at $169.99, but my competitor is offering a kid size version for $79.99. Many buyers are choosing the cheaper option. Well, part of it, that's going to happen, especially if it fits them. Now, you're going to have to prove the value of your product. Now, it looks like you have a follow-up statement here. My cost is higher, so I can't lower my price. What's the best strategy to overcome this and differentiate my product? Yes, great question. So what I would think about is, how do you make your product stand out? So you're going to have to really make sure your image stack and your A+ content are showcasing like the difference between your product and the competitors. Now, you can't say my brand, competitor's brand, or you'll probably get sued or taken down or one of the two. But what you can do is say mine, or, our product, alternatives. And so few places I would suggest looking is, look at their 1-star reviews, look at their 2-star reviews and 3-star, if they have a bunch of reviews, and just see what are the common threads. And also look, what is the AI synopsis, the summary of the reviews of your competitor, and then try to sell against those. So if, they're, whatever the product is, the zippers fall off, heavy duty zipper, whatever the case is. So you do have a bit of a uphill battle, I should say. Now, it's not completely lost, because you're mentioning that the other product is a kid size and yours is an adult size. Now, if this is apparel, that definitely makes a difference. If this is, sometimes people go through the drive-through at McDonald's and they're like, the price of, a value meal is expensive, so they just get a Happy Meal. That happens sometimes. When I was a restaurant manager at that magical place in Disney, people would get the kids meal. It's supposed to be for just 12 and under, but people still get the kids meal for themselves or their, 16, 17-year-old kids. And that just happens. Sometimes it's, 40, 50, 60-year-olds adults too. So, it happens that people sometimes will, buy the lower price option, especially if it's not something where fit is a problem. If this is a fit related product, then I would definitely focus on, how you could position yours as, a right fit. So you're gonna have to look at, what is the benefit of paying for an adult size, whatever this is, that someone would be willing to basically spend more than double if we're talking about $169.99, so 170 versus 80. So it's a little more than double in price. So make sure people understand, like, not just whatever the size differentiation and how that matters, but then, what other quality features can you highlight? You're going to have to really try to sell yours as the premium option. All right, next up, let's see. We have, before I get to that question, Tashko3766, since you were the first person to ask a question, you can email podcast@myamazonguy.com. So again, podcast@myamazonguy.com, and just let them know that Kevin promised you a free $100 Mag School course. Just let them know Kevin promised you a free Mag School course, and they'll get you a coupon code. And you can pick the Mag School course of your choosing. All right. Next up, we have Shoal Backram 1292. What do you think? I think lots of things. No, I'll get into that. What about the PPC strategy of high selling products with poor product graphics and reviews less than 20? How to cope with such a situation while everything is not working? Okay. I'm assuming you mean, what should you do if you have a product that's... Now, I guess my question here is, okay, let me look at this. What do you think? What about the PPC strategy of high selling products with poor product graphics and reviews less? Oh, you're probably talking about product targeting on these. Because it's the statement of while everything is not working. So are these things you're trying and you're just trying to grasp at straws? Or your product has poor product sale? Well, I would hope if your product is poor product graphics, simplest solution is just get better graphics. I mean, get a free Canva account, and find ways to improve them. Reviews less than 20. I wouldn't focus on whether or not they have less than 20 reviews. You could, if this is now, if your product is less than 20 reviews, don't worry too much about it. Focus on just better positioning your product and getting more sales, and the reviews will come over time. But if you're talking about, you have, if you're going after like ASIN targeting campaigns for products that have not so great product graphics, like maybe there's, people that just weren't satisfied that this is going to help them with whatever they're looking to, the need they're looking to fulfill, then yeah, that would be a great way to look at it. Another way you could look at it is, instead of, reviews less than 20, less than 4-star reviews, or less than 4.5 stars at least. So if your product is 4.5 stars and that product has 4 stars, that could be beneficial. I wouldn't focus too much on that. I would say go after competition and see if you can, by kind of piggybacking on their listing and showing up in the carousel of, similar products, that should be beneficial to you. So it's the statement of how to cope with this kind of situation while everything is not working. I want to make sure I understood your question and gave you a good answer. So, all right, for everyone else watching, please make sure to drop your questions in the chat. As we go through this, I will be going, for the most part, in order, and I want to make sure that I'm giving everybody the best possible answers to their questions. So if you have a product and you would like me to take a look at it, I'm also happy to take a look at it and pull up your listing live here. If you could just put in whatever the ASIN is, and then what marketplace. Is it .com, .co.uk, .in, .ca, .de, or whatever. I'll be more than happy to take a look at it and give you my opinion. But just put that into the chat as well. More than happy to do that. So, all right. What is the best niche to sell on Amazon? So here's the thing. Every niche is saturated. And if it's not saturated, it's probably a trend which will become quickly saturated. And then the trend might die. So that's one thing to keep in mind. I was thinking slap bracelets, but that was from like when I was in junior high school, which is a while ago. What was the thing? Oh, fidget spinners. That was like a big thing, 8 or 9 years ago. And there's people that probably still have container loads of fidget spinners because they jumped on that trend because it seemed like a good idea at the time. So one of the things we suggest is, what products are you personally interested in that you could speak well to the audience of people looking to purchase that product? And if that's something you could do, you're going to do a lot better than if you just say, where's their sales? And I'll just, slap a logo on, some barbecue gloves and call it a day. That doesn't work well. The days of, you could just, sell a garlic press because other people are selling garlic presses and your garlic press hopefully will rank. That used to work maybe in 2016, 2014, 2013. It was always the better way back when time, which is, let's just say from a competition standpoint, it was less competition, but there was also less sales on the platform. Because if you look at the graph of Amazon, it's just pretty much been going up and to the right, basically peaks and valleys. And those peaks are generally, Q4 every year. But oftentimes, Q2 from one year compared to the previous year, Q4, oftentimes is higher. So, it's constantly going up. So total sales on the platform, that doesn't mean your sales would be going up necessarily in proportion, but there are more people competing to eat on the pie, but the pie is bigger than it used to be. So I know you're asking for what niche to sell on Amazon, and you're just going to have to come up with that one on your own. But what you also want to take a look at is it a growing market? So trying to think of an extreme example. Phone cases is probably one where it's a growing market as soon as the phone comes out. But, like I've had this phone for a couple of years, so it's become less of a growing market. I would imagine calculators are a shrinking market. Things that might be a growing market: wireless lavalier microphones that people can plug into their computer and or phone. That may or may not be, especially with, the advent of TikTok and whatever. Maybe a couple of years ago, this was more of a growing market. I don't know. You can use tools like Helium 10 and, look at some of the BSR history of products to help you figure that out. So there's a lot of ways to look at different products, figure out, like, is it a growing market? That's what you want to figure out more than anything. And is it profitable? And can you source the product in a way that you're going to be able to make a profit? And then also figure out every, and I keep saying every on purpose, every little fee that you may not realize is you're going to get hit with. Figure out what those fees are and be liberal in your assessment of how those fees might cost, and conservative in your estimate of how much profit there is. So that way you can figure out, like, okay, if I spend all this money, what about tariffs? What about inbound service fees? What about placement fees? What about, FBA inventory fees during Q4? And Amazon will always tell you, like, oh yeah, we need it in by like October 3rd or something crazy if you want it ready for Black Friday, Cyber Monday. So that means all of October, all of November, you're going to be spending quite a bit of money to hold that stock in Amazon's warehouse at 4 or 5x, depending on the product and the size, whatever the cost is the rest of the year. Plus, you're going to oftentimes still be, paying for it throughout the rest of the year. And you're going to have some units that might be in stock for 4, 5, 6 plus months. And so, when it goes beyond that, what is potentially your long-term storage fee is going to look like? So look at all that, and, don't be overly optimistic. Be optimistic that you can make it work, but let the numbers speak for themselves. So that's my advice there. All right. Next up, do you recommend starting with an exact campaign first when launching a product or phrase match? We suggest go after everything. So I know there's some people that pitch, it's all about exact. But here's the thing. If everybody's going after exact, guess what? It jacks up the price. So you can oftentimes get bargains, even at the same search term, like not just the keyword, but like the literal search term that it shows up for. By doing broader phrase, because you're giving that algorithm a little bit more leeway. Some people will say like, oh yeah, just go laser focused and then kind of widen it out as you see it works. But the example I always love to give is markers. If you go after markers because there's a lot of search traffic and you're selling dry erase markers, you'll probably not do well. You can just go on Amazon, look up markers, and maybe there's one or two like Expo, which is like the name brand in dry erase markers. There might be a couple of them there, but most of what people are searching for markers is crafting markers, like markers for school, like Crayola markers. So just keep that in mind, that you need to find the right keywords. And so sometimes you may not realize you have a longer tail keyword where you can do better, and the algorithm oftentimes will find it. But if you just say, I only want exact, you're basically, you know, putting one hand behind the algorithm's back, so to speak, to find you those other keywords. So we recommend start off with auto and broad and exact. Why not? Like do all the above. And if you're concerned about budget, one, don't spend money that you can't afford to lose. But then two, realize that you're still going to, if you've done all your research right and you have a good product and it's well marketed, you're going to get some sales back. So initially it might be a little bit of a loss, but it's not like 100% loss. So you just have to do the math to see, you know, how much can you lose initially in the beginning. And hopefully that helps kind of extend your runway rather than just say, oh, I can't spend more than X amount on ads. Because as you spend money on ads, you're also getting money back from the sales you make. So just keep that in mind. All right. And then why so cute? Why so, well, that is a cute avatar there. How do you determine when to segment branded versus non-branded traffic and sponsored products? So yeah, it's probably a good idea. Well, one, here at MAG, we recommend 5 to 10 keywords, no more than 20 in a particular campaign. I would definitely segment out branded keywords into their own campaigns. That would be how you determine how to segment it, if that's what you're asking. Because at the end of the day, like if you're looking at your campaigns and you're like, which ones are doing well? Clearly the ones that are branded would be doing better. Now, depends on how long you've been doing this. So if you've been doing this for years and you've developed some of a following, you have, you know, maybe some social media, you've got an email list, you're probably going to have people looking for you. If you're, you know, only selling on Amazon and you've been doing this for 6 weeks, you're probably not going to get a lot of people searching for you. Some people will, you know, because they found your product and they want to search for it again and they realize that it's probably more likely to find it by the name brand. So you get some of that, but it's not going to be as much as if you were doing like, you know, DSP and you're doing all this other stuff to get people to at least recognize your name brand. But the intent of name brand usually is I want to buy that brand of product. So, you know, if someone is looking for a Samsung Galaxy phone, their chances are not going to buy an iPhone. Whereas if they look up mobile phone, maybe they're one or the other. They're willing to do mobile, you know, buy a mobile phone that's, you know, an Apple iPhone or a Samsung Galaxy phone. It could be either way, or they're open to, you know, other brands. So when people are searching for a brand, they really mean I want to buy that brand. So your ACoS would generally be much lower for branded search terms. So if you can segment them out, like at least by campaign, you know, with branded keywords in their own campaigns, you're going to have, at least when glancing through, it would make it easier. But again, how much branded search traffic do you have? So like if you looked at your search term report and you had 10 clicks in the last month, I probably wouldn't spend a lot of time on this. If you're getting, 10, 20 clicks a day for branded search terms, then yeah, it's probably worth it to segment them out. So, all right, let's get to the next one. So I see lots of questions starting to come in. Drop your questions into the chat, and we will answer those. For the most part, I'm going in order, but if you have questions, I'll do my best to give you an answer. So Frank Zolo says, I sell in the baby niche or niche. I hear more people saying niche. I'm just curious. What are your thoughts? Niche or niche? I've always said niche, but I feel like people are more and more saying niche. It used to just be like, it was like, people in the US said niche, and people like in Canada and the UK and elsewhere would say niche. Now it seems like I hear more and more people talking about niches in the US. So maybe I'm old school. Niche. I sell in the baby niche. Sorry. Anyway, some of my PPC for highly relevant keywords are very high. Some of my PPC, you mean the bids are high? So I had to lower my PPC budget from $1.08. Okay. So your bid, sorry. Oh, maybe it's the I and the U are next to each other on the keyboard. So I lowered my PPC bid from $1.80 to about 20 cents to be under 30% ACoS. Yeah. So this is the same person that asked about exact match keywords. Maybe you shouldn't be going after exact match here. Maybe you're going to find two things. So if you're having this problem and you are going after broad match, what are the keywords that you could negative or negate or, make as negative matches, whether phrase negative or exact negative? An exact negative is just that particular phrase. Phrase negative is anything that includes that particular word or phrase. So like if you finding your product is blue and every time someone searches for red, they don't buy, and you have a bunch of search terms and none of them are converting with the word red in it, then negate the word red as a phrase. So that would be one thing that you could do to lower your ACoS, because and again, it says highly relevant keywords. You also have to ask yourself, relevant by whose standard? Because oftentimes we get this emotional, we all do it. We get emotional about these keywords. No, I know this one's got to work because this is very specific. My product fits perfectly. It's just like the competitors. But for whatever reason, maybe you have to work your way up to it. Maybe you've got 20 reviews and your competitors have 20,000 reviews. And so that's not going to do well on page one. So, think about that. And then also, are you going after, modifiers for top of search or something like that? Maybe you want to just remove the modifiers. So there's a few things you could do, and hopefully that helps. And then question, what defensive PPC campaigns do you recommend? So if you're saying you're having a lot of trouble with PPC, I would, rather than spending time on defensive campaigns just yet, I would focus on 1, improving your main image, and then 2, improving your conversions. So it sounds like you probably need to first off work on the main image. Even if you have a great main image, do a pick food test or product opinion, take your pick. Do a test between those and get people's feedback. And hey, do you like this one, which could be your current image, or this one, which is the one you're thinking about doing? And then you could also run it as an Amazon experiment and see which one Amazon's customers come back with. They don't tell you what their thoughts were like on product opinion or PickFu, but they will at least give you some, you'll get a little bit more idea of what's happening. Because you'll see the conversion rate. So it's not just opinions on Amazon experiments, it's actual conversions. So that'll help you. And then I would start figuring out that before you worry about defensive campaigns. Because it's chances are, if you're leaking, so to speak, it's not an issue of like, oh my God, there's this other, product shows up in my, listing. So if I make it so, did you just see my other products? They're not going to go elsewhere. No. Chances are, if a very high ACoS, you need to fix that problem first, not just with your bids, but also with your main image to fix your click-through rate, and then with A+ content and your listing copy to fix the conversion rates. Then maybe start looking at defensive campaigns, because right now, if you have a leaky bucket, you need to patch some of those leaks, which I would say the benefit in that leaky bucket scenario is going to be much less important with defensive campaigns than it would be with the other things I mentioned, based on what I understand is happening here. And then, can you explain the definition of PPC defensive campaign? Okay, so yeah, so basically it's you take, let's say you have 6 products, and then you run campaigns where you do ASIN targeting for, let's say you have product A, and then you're basically taking that product, and that is your ad, and you're running it to the ASINs of B, C, D, E, F. So your other 5 products, so that it shows up on those listings for those other products, which ideally prevents someone else from showing up. So it's one less, because it's relevant, because if it's your branded products, and now these all have to be in a different parentage, I should say. And as long as they're in a different parentage, then it should be fine. Like if there are other standalone listings or other variations, other parentages, I should say, they're under a different parent SKU. You should be able to run these. And then as long as they're relevant, they're probably more likely to show up, even if you have to spend a little bit extra because you're keeping them in-house. But I wouldn't focus on that just yet based on what you were describing. All right. Next up, Many Yanam, which it looks like it's just the same word backwards. So interesting one. Is that correct? I have 3 campaigns, exact, broad, and phrase, running for the same keyword. So do I bid against myself? Thank you so much for your answer. No, I wouldn't worry about that. So that's, I've heard people talk about like deduplicating all that. Like, no, don't worry about that nonsense. For whatever reason, Amazon is just going to like one version or the other. Maybe you think if I go after exact, Amazon's going to show me for exact. No, maybe Amazon likes better the broad. And so you don't bid against yourself. So I wouldn't worry about that. Amazon has stated that. So you're not going to be bidding against yourself. But, if you have different bids, then the higher one could win. Although sometimes they'll just decide randomly they're going to pick one match versus another match, and that's the one they're going to show. So, all right. Next up, Frank Zolo says, "What PPC strategies have you guys seen work in the baby niche?" So baby niche, based on what you're describing, I'm going to keep going back to, don't worry so much about the PPC strategy. Worry about the listing, because parents, especially of newborns, especially first-time parents, and I say this as someone who now has the hindsight, are very worried about everything. I still worry about my 15-year-old and my 10-year-old, but not as much as I think my wife and I did when our 15-year-old was a baby. Parents are very nervous, especially about babies, and especially if they're first-time parents, which there's a good chance that your customers are also first-time parents. Because oftentimes people will, hand me down from one baby to the next because they'll reuse some of the stuff. If people have 2 kids, or let's say the average family has 1.8 kids, so that means not everybody has a second kid, whatever that math works out to be. So I would say focus on your listing more than right now focus on your PPC. It's probably not the answer you wanted. You wanted like the latest strategy or hack, and your latest strategy or hack is your main image, in my opinion. So do you guys do unigram campaigns for clients, products for clients? No, when you say unigram, you mean Instagram? I'm not familiar with unigram. What's the best way to reduce over-indexing? Should I just pause targets with no or low clicks and just wait to see how the others perform? How do I do what a good organic rank is? Okay. I wouldn't worry about over-indexing. Like showing up for more keywords and being potentially shown for certain keywords, I don't think it's a bad thing. And if it's, your product is blue case for Samsung S23 Galaxy or whatever I have, and your index for S24, eventually people are going to realize it's not for an S24. It's a different model. Probably doesn't fit the same, I'm assuming. So you probably won't get the conversions, and Amazon just won't show your product, even if it's indexed for that keyword. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. And then how do I know what a good organic rank is? We would like to see your indexing to be a 2-to-1 ratio. So 2 organic keywords for every 1 paid keyword that is indexed. Now, is that always going to happen? No, especially when you first start out. So I wouldn't just pause targets with no or low clicks. I would say I would focus on click-through rate. So if you have lots of impressions, like let's say you look at, I would look at this maybe at a year-to-date range, and then look at your, are you getting lots of clicks? Do you have 100,000 impressions and 2 clicks? Well, that's not good. Do you have 300 clicks? 300 impressions and 10 clicks? That's pretty good click-through rate, So just take a look at it and figure out where are you, and then again, focus on improving your main image, in my opinion, before you focus on maybe taking out some of these others. You could turn off certain keywords. Now, if you're getting clicks and no sales, which again, my suggestion would be, and this is one thing you can do, everybody do this if you haven't done this before. You can only look 60 to 90 days in most Amazon reports, whereas you can look year to date on the targeting tab. So if you go into Campaign Manager, you go to the targeting tab and you change the date range to year to date, you can see how have you performed year to date. You could filter by orders equals 0 and then sort by spend. And you're going to see a whole bunch of ones that, you might have had 40, 50 clicks all year, but every time you go to optimize, there's 2 or 3. So it just never was on your radar to do anything with. But if you look at a longer time horizon, which, come January 1st, year to date is only a day. Whereas right now, year to date is 350 days or whatever the math is. So you have most of the year. So you have a lot of good data. So that would be one place you could go and start turning things off that are getting clicks but no sales. And then some of them, if you're getting no clicks but not many impressions, maybe just need to increase the bid and see what happens and see if it is relevant. Because sometimes you can find there's keywords that actually do really well, but they're just maybe a little bit more expensive, and you just haven't bid for them yet. So hopefully those are some good suggestions that help you out. So, all right, so let's get to some more questions. We have Why So Cute says, what are your go-to strategies for reducing tacos without sacrificing sales velocity? Okay. So if you want to decrease your total cost of ad sales, or total advertising cost of sales. So your cost of sales for advertising. So basically, you're talking about your advertising spend divided by total sales. So you theoretically, if you don't want your sales to go down, you want your sales to stay consistent, but you want less ad spend. So that means you would have to increase your ratio of organic sales. So in order to do that, you're going to have to start looking at like, okay, how do I improve my click-through rates? How do I improve my conversion rates? Which we find it's generally easier to increase your traffic than it is to increase meaningfully your conversion rate. So like, for example, if you have a 0.5% click-through rate and you increase that to 0.8, you might be like, oh, those are still small numbers. In essence, you gave yourself a 60% increase in traffic. So if you convert the same, you should theoretically increase your sales by 60%. Now, with conversions, if you had, let's say, a 10% click-through rate and you increase that to 16%, that's a lot harder to do. So usually the bigger leverage, or sorry, the bigger lever with more leverage is going to be the click-through rate. And the best thing to do with that is your main image. So figure out how to improve your main image. And that should be one of your best strategies to improve your tacos. Because if you want to keep your sales consistent, but decrease ad costs, it's oftentimes you're going to have a better mix of organic sales. And then also take a look at your A+ content next. A few things you could do: make sure you have about 100 characters of keywords in each of your alt text fields for all of your images, because that'll help you show up. And that's a good place to put in misspellings, Spanish, other keywords that maybe you wouldn't necessarily put in there. And then, of course, never put your competitors' keywords anywhere in your listing or in the back end. Just word to the wise. All right. Next up, AHJO24 says, what do you do if your exact match campaigns have very high ACoS? Like, what steps should you take to reduce your ACoS? One, make sure you have broad and phrase for those same keywords, because this sounds so counterintuitive. If I'm just going after that exact, shouldn't I do better? Theoretically, but in reality, not always. So I would say what you want to do is take a look at your exact matches and make sure you have others, because sometimes Amazon will just pick, for whatever reason, the broad, and the broad match will get better results because Amazon's algorithm just likes it better. It just favors it because it has better sales history for whatever reason. And a lot of times there's people that, I don't hear as much about this, but this used to be fairly controversial, where people would say, oh no, you go from auto to broad, and then, you're negating it in your auto, and then it's in broad, and then you move it up to phrase or exact, and then you turn it off or negate it in your broad campaign. No. Our strong opinion here at My Amazon Guy, based on $6 billion in sales that we've done, and my own experience as a seller, is that you don't want to negate a good keyword. So if a keyword is performing, don't get rid of it. And if a keyword is not performing in exact, it has a high ACoS, try it, if you're not already, as a auto or a broad. And it could be, maybe you're already running as a broad, check an auto and see if you negated it, and remove the negation and see if it does better in auto. It might. It might not show up at all, or it might all of a sudden gets all the sales. And at the end of the day, do you really care if it comes from an exact or broad? Your accountant isn't going to say, where do these sales come from? From broad match or exact match? They don't even know what that means. Your banker isn't going to say that. When you go to pay your bills, they're never going to be like, what? There's an asterisk here because you got these from auto campaigns, not from exact. So don't worry about exact is really more my point. All right. Next up, Avish Sharma 2459 says, should we change bids every hour? What is your time schedule to change keyword bidding? Personally, I don't. There are strategies people like to do with day parting, and it's more to do with budgets. I don't personally. There's the same question, just listed another time. So, all right. Frank Zolo 2134. I agree with focusing on the conversion. My listing is key. What conversion percentage will you recommend aiming for? So yeah, this is also another hot topic. It depends. If you're selling baby products, they might be a little bit lower. I say 10% is a good benchmark when in doubt, but babies, especially if this is baby apparel, it's probably going to be a little bit lower. For example, when I bought these lavalier mics, I didn't spend a lot of time on it. It still was like, I don't know, $60, $70 or something like that. So it wasn't like, cheap necessarily. It wasn't like buying a $12 product. But I just kind of very quickly saw like, okay, this seems to work. It fits the need that I am going after. So let's just buy it. Let's not overthink it. Baby, I could see having lower where people do more research, make sure this is perfect for junior. It's not going to, people are very nervous, especially first-time parents and all parents of babies. And I say this having been a first-time parent and having 2 kids. People get very nervous with their kids and want to make sure everything is the best and it's going to, whatever. So people are always very concerned about that kind of stuff. So just, again, I would say focus more on your click-through rate. So, and then as far as what is a good conversion rate, more than what you're doing now. What is a good click-through rate? More than what you're doing now. So if your click-through rate right now is 1%, it's 1.2 is your goal. If your click-through rate right now is 0.5%, 0.6 or 0.7 is your goal. Just pick something and just you're going from where you are now to where you want to go. Don't worry about like, oh yeah, but like other people have said, no. You can only improve so many things at a time. And if you incrementally focus on, I'm here and I need to go here. Don't worry about the person that's here wants to go there. You focus on where you're at and what do you need to do to get to the next stop. That would be my advice. All right. Next up, Avish Sharma says, oh no, that was a question I already got. Jay Cosmo says it's a supplement. I'm 5 months in, ACoS at 200%. Yikes. Thanks to awesome advice from prior AMA telling me I'm over-indexed. I've reduced to 170% past week. My ratio is 1 organic to 6 PPC. Oh, yeah. Okay, maybe that's, I don't know if that was me. It sounds like maybe someone else said. I wouldn't say you're over-indexed. You just need to get indexed more on organic. And you have 9 reviews. Some of this is going to come over time. So good luck. But at least being the fact that you're in supplements over time, you should start getting more repeat purchases, more subscribe and save, and all the above, and that will help you. All right. So Why So Cute says, how often should we review placement bid adjustments and what metrics guide your decisions? Are you making profit? That's clear and simple is the way I like to say it. So I see it too often. People will be like, I have this really good keyword and how long should I stay at 350% ACoS? Not long. Like, maybe a few days to give it, a chance to kind of like get some data. But, if you have a good amount of data, you've got lots of clicks, you've got, 30, 40 clicks or whatever for a keyword, or, if you're talking about bid adjustments, it's for the campaign level. So if you have, a good amount of data, don't just let it run forever because someone said, oh, always go after top of search. No, only go after top of search if it's profitable. So profitability, I would say, is your main metrics for those bid adjustments. Because at the end of the day, the whole point of going after, whether it be top of search, rest of search, product pages, is you want to put it in front of where it's working. So it's really more, it's like throwing gas on an existing fire. So if you don't have a fire going, don't throw gas on it. Like you're just wasting gas. So like the other day, we had a camp out for Cub Scouts, and we're trying to teach them how to use flint and steel. So it's which is basically like this little rod, and you got flint and steel, and you're like making little sparks and trying to get it to light. The kindling and the tinder, the smaller parts, and then eventually get that to burn your logs. It's kind of like that with PPC sometimes too. So I would say, when you're trying to figure out what's working initially, bid adjustments is somewhat of a low priority. I wouldn't focus all your attention on bid adjustments. And then, again, what metrics guide your decisions? Is it profitable compared to, others? So for example, if rest of search is more profitable, don't spend lots of money on top of search. Sometimes that's just throwing, good money at bad. So if you're not converting well at top of search, oftentimes it's because people looking at the top just want the quick and easy decision. And if your product is 30 reviews and competition has 7,000, and maybe they have 4.5 stars and you have 4 stars, and you're trying to get fixed because one of your initial shipments, a couple of them broke, and you got a couple 1-star reviews, but over time you can fix that. That's going to not do as well with the top of search. So oftentimes when people go to the rest of search and they're clicking around on the product detail page, they're a little more open-minded to other products, and so it's less impulse buying and more just like they're searching for the right product for them. And so oftentimes, as counterintuitive as it is, you might do better at rest of search and at product detail page, because those oftentimes can be less expensive. And there's oftentimes not as many people bidding up on those placements because for whatever reason, people tell them they should. All right. So next up, J Cosmo says our click-through rate is 50% above average, but our conversion rate is 50% below average. Do reviews just have more pull in the supplement game? It depends on the product and it depends on the niche within supplements. At the end of the day, supplements are you're buying hope, if you think about it. So yes, it's tangible, like it's like in a capsule or a pill or some sort of powder, whatever it is. But people want to know, like, am I going to have the hope that when I purchase this, it's going to get me closer to being healthier, having better joints, having better eyesight, whatever it is you're teaching? Or am I just, buying something that's just going to be wasting money? So yes, I would say reviews have something to do with that. Now, think about what you can control, what you can't control. You can only have so much influence on the reviews. Don't go out and start buying reviews. Don't mess with reviews. Let the reviews kind of come somewhat organically over time. But your A+ content, are you positioning within reason of what you're able to articulate? Supplements can be kind of hard because you have to be very careful about the claims you make. And I'm not an expert in supplements because I've never sold in supplements personally, but just be very careful of what you're putting in your like A+ content, whatnot, but just make sure that you're selling the vision, and sometimes the vision is because, there's an attractive woman running on the beach or something, or, by a lake or something. And it's just the lifestyle. I mean, if you think about it, like drugs, when I say drugs, pharmaceuticals, when you see an ad for pharmaceutical companies, it's never like somebody in a lab making the pharmaceutical, like I stand behind this. It's, never, someone talking about like how much they got better. It's like people like with their spouse that look happy, or they just, they're out with their kids. It just shows a lifestyle that looks appealing, or they're with their grandkids, depending on the demographic they're going after. So, you're selling hope, but you have to be very careful not to what the claims you make. So borrow a page from the pharmaceutical playbook, and is the lifestyle you're selling compelling enough, is the way I would phrase that. And sometimes it's happy people, it's in the pictures, if it's fit, are they wearing athletic clothes, are they active, what is it you're trying to sell? If it's something that helps flexibility or joints, are they able to reach up and grab things? Are they flexible? You have to kind of sell that subtly somewhat too. So just keep that in mind. So hopefully that helps. And then this will be probably our last question here. My strategy has been, I prefer to give customers rather to Amazon to get ranked and generate sales velocity, but I prefer to give customers rather than to Amazon to get ranked and to generate sales velocity. But even the low price isn't working for the product I talked earlier. I prefer to give, like, you're doing giveaways to customers. I wouldn't necessarily recommend giveaways. That used to be a strategy that worked. Amazon's taken that one away, so I wouldn't focus on that one as your main thing. Nothing is working. I mean, I'm trying different strategies, lowering price, target potential customers, targeting different keywords, running sponsor brands, but nothing is getting better for that product. I'm doing vigorous testing, like lowering the price, targeting potential customers, top of search, rest of search, but nothing is going good. Well, sometimes you just need to get out of your own head and get someone else's opinion. So this applies to everybody watching this. You can go to myamazonguy.com/ASIN, ASIN, myamazonguy.com/ASIN, and you can ask our team to do a review of one of your products. Oh, see, there you go. Our producers, thank you to Gilbert and Michelle. We'll be more than happy to take a look at one of your products and give you some insight into things that you could do differently to, index for different keywords, things you could do with your listing, your plus content, your images, all that fun stuff, things you can do to improve, because, oftentimes we get in our own head of like, hey, here's all the stuff I need to do. No, I've done everything. Well, no, maybe someone has a different idea you hadn't thought of. And so that could be some ideas that you could do. And it's a free service we offer. Yes, we will probably say, hey, do you want to book a meeting with one of our, sales folks? But it is not a requirement of getting the review. Thank you for your advice. Really appreciate it. Yeah, my pleasure. So hopefully this helped everybody. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. It's been a pleasure. And we'll see you on the next one. And happy selling as we are getting to the end of the Christmas holiday season, which means we still have that busy window the week after Christmas because people are out there shopping with their gift cards. And the first couple weeks of January tend to be pretty good too, because there's still lots of gift cards out there. And people are just going on the platform because they're returning stuff. And they're like, well, I'm there. I might as well buy this or buy that. So we still have good busy times coming up. It's just, the busiest times tend to be now for the next week or so. So anyway, best of luck to everybody. Happy selling. Take care.